Well, welcome back to the Onesimus effect. Yesterday, we explored the power of identity and we discovered that Onesimus was more than just the labels attached to his life. Today, we want to move a bit deeper into his story and discover something that touches every one of us, and it's running. Not physically running necessarily, the kind of running that happens in the soul. The kind that happens when life becomes painful, confusing, overwhelming, and disappointing. The truth is, every human being is running from something. Some run from failure, some run from loneliness, and some run from rejection. Some may run from responsibility, and some run from grief, and some actually run from God. And if you're honest, many of us have become experts in escaping. Our modern culture has made escape easier than at any point in human history. And if we don't like what we're feeling, there's always another distraction waiting, like another video, another show, another purchase, or another relationship. It could be another achievement, another scroll through the social media. Another way to avoid sitting quietly with what is really happening inside us. But what if the thing that you're running from isn't actually the problem? And what if God is trying to meet us in the very place that we've been trying to escape? And I think that's where the story of Onesimus becomes incredibly relevant. When we meet Onesimus in Scripture, he's already gone. He's left, run away, escaped. And for reasons that we don't know, he made the decision to leave Philemon's household and disappear. And in the Roman world, this was dangerous. A runaway slave faced severe consequences if they ever get caught. Yet, Onesimus decided staying felt worse than leaving. So perhaps he was angry and perhaps he felt trapped. Perhaps he wanted freedom, or perhaps he believed a different life was waiting somewhere else. Whatever his reason, he ran. And honestly, among us, who among us can't relate to that? Not necessarily running from a place, but running from a situation or running from a discomfort. We could be running from pain or running from ourselves. And most of us have experienced moments where we wanted to escape our reality, moments when we wish we could start over somewhere new, moments when we believed the answer was somewhere else. It could have been another city, another job, or another relationship, or another opportunity, another version of life. The details change, the desires remain the same. We believe distance will solve what's actually happening inside of us. And one of the most important questions that we can ask ourselves is this: what am I actually trying to escape? Because often the thing we're running towards isn't the real issue. The real issue is, what are we running from? So many people today are carrying enormous emotional weight, like anxiety, disappointment, fear, shame, unresolved wounds, unmet expectations, and broken dreams. And rather than dealing with those things, we distract ourselves from them, not because we're weak, but because pain is uncomfortable, silence is uncomfortable, and reflection is uncomfortable, and healing is uncomfortable. Escape feels easier, and our culture has built entire industries around helping us to avoid discomfort. Just think about that. When boredom appears, we reach for the screen. When loneliness appears, we seek for validation. And when stress appears, we seek for distraction. And when insecurity appears, we seek for approval. And when pain appears, we seek for escape. And that challenge is the distraction that can postpone pain, but they cannot heal it. They can delay reality, but they cannot transform it. You can mute the symptoms without addressing the source, and eventually, whatever you're running from catches up. So we remember seasons in our lives when we are constantly busy. From the outside, everything looks productive. We were accomplishing things, meeting goals, checking boxes, staying active. But eventually, we realized something. It wasn't always being productive, and sometimes we were being distracted. Busyness had become a form of escape. So, as long as we stay moving, we don't have to stop and listen to what God is trying to tell us. As long as we stay occupied, we don't have to face the deeper questions. Questions about trust, questions about surrender, and questions about purpose. And when we finally slow down, we discover something surprising. The thing that we had been avoiding wasn't really as frightening as we imagined. In fact, it became the very place where God begins to do some of his deepest works. So maybe you are experiencing something similar at the moment. Maybe your escape isn't destructive. Maybe it's a social acceptable. Work, success, achievements, productivity, entertainment, and relationships. None of these things are inherently wrong, but even good things become unhealthy when they are used to avoid God. So, what makes Onesimus' story so powerful is what happened during his escape. Somehow, somewhere, he met Paul. Think about that. A runaway slave unexpectedly encounters one of the most influential Christian leaders in history. Do you think there's consequences of that? But Paul doesn't seem to think so. And that's why he writes, perhaps a reason he was separated from you for a little while. And notice the word perhaps. Paul isn't claiming to know every detail of God's plan, but he recognizes something that God has a way of working even through our detours, even through our mistakes, and even through our wandering, and especially even through our running. The very path that Onesimus thought would lead him away from his problems became the path that led him to Christ. So, what if some of the detours in your life were not wasted? But if some of the seasons that you regret most became the places where God was secretly, privately, and quietly pursuing you? What if God was present even when you were running? Because throughout Scripture, that's exactly what we see. Adam ran and hid. God came looking. Jonah ran in the opposite direction. God pursued him. The prodigal son ran from home. The father waited for him. And Peter ran from denying Christ, and Jesus restored him. Onesimus ran away, but God met him through Paul. Again and again, Scripture reveals a God who pursues people, not because they deserve it, but because he loves them. The deeper question isn't whether we're running. The deeper question is where we're running or who we're running towards. See, many people spend their lives running from something. Few learn the freedom of running to someone. And the gospel invites us to bring our fears to God, our wounds to God, our questions to God, and our disappointments to God. And most of all, our failures to God. So instead of escaping reality, we learn to face reality with God's presence. And that changes everything because God's presence doesn't always remove the struggle, but it transforms how we walk through it. And often the very place that we wanted to avoid becomes the place of healing. So as you reflect today, consider this question. What are people escaping from today? Why do you think modern culture is so addicted to distraction? And what are the what personally tempted to use as an escape? Is it work? Is it entertainment or relationship? Could be social media, or the one of the busiest ones is busyness. So how does God pursue people who run? And can you identify moments in your own life where God met with you unexpectedly? Today's challenge is simple. Spend one full day without your biggest distraction. If it's social media, put it away. If it's streaming content, turn it off. If it's constant noise, embrace silence. And if it's endless busyness, create space. Then pay attention, listen, reflect, pray, and journal, and ask God, what have I been avoiding? What are you trying to show me? You may be surprised at what you hear. The Onesimus effect teaches us that running away does not solve the deeper issue, but it also teaches us that something beautiful. God often meets people in the middle of their escape. The God of Scripture is not intimidated by your detours. He is not surprised by your wandering, and he's not discouraged by your running. He is pursuing you with grace. And sometimes the very road that you thought was leading away from him becomes a road that leads you back. Tomorrow we discover another life-changing truth from the story of Onesimus. People really can change. So in a culture that remembers every mistake, we'll explore the transforming power of redemption. So until then, remember that you can run from many things, but the safest place that you will ever run to is towards God. So thank you for listening to the Onesimus Effect, and I look forward to continuing to see you tomorrow.